People who walked in on their so cheating. What did you do? How did you walk in on them? My mom came home to our old farm property to find my ex-stepdad porking his girlfriend in the front yard. On their 35th wedding anniversary. She called the cops and had them both removed. Walked over to her house to grab my phone charger. Walked in on her having sex with a guy I didn't need to worry about. I went from calm to freaking the FCK out in the span of a few seconds. Before I did anything rash, I turned around and left. Let's just appreciate the real hero in these situations. Phone chargers. One of my co-workers ran into her then boyfriend's house to get her phone charger before work. She walked into his bedroom and found him in bed with another woman. She then took a picture of them in bed and sent IT to his mother. Walked in on my ex-fiancée registered signee 6 weeks before our wedding. She was sleeping with one of our co-workers. Quit my job there. She made me cover the remaining costs of the wedding since we were within the 90-day limits and only my name was on the contracts. I moved away to college. She stalked me. I put a restraining order on her. I got counseling. I was a mess. Life gets better. I'm married to an incredible woman. Successful in my job. And I'm 5 years cancer free. I'll take it. Plus I don't have her in my life anymore. Dodged a bullet is how I look at it now. Life gets better. I'm married to an incredible woman. Successful in my job. And I'm 5 years cancer free. I'll take it. Plus I don't have her in my life anymore. Dodged a bullet is how I look at it now. Dodge a bullet? You're in the freaking Matrix. I walked in early from work. My door was locked. It's never locked. So I super stealth mode opened the door and found her and my roommate in bed together. I simply had her move her tea from my room to his. I hooked up with one of her friends like a week later and she was pissed. They both moved out at the end of the month. She tried to break in after I went on deployment. But didn't know that I found a new roommate. He pulled a sword on her. It was epic. The new roomie sounds pretty cool. A few years ago a female friend of mine walked in on her husband having sex with another woman. She posted it on Facebook. Then shot her husband. Then herself. I had commented jokingly on her Facebook page, "Did you cut his balls off?" I later had several newspapers call me to talk about the story. Grand Theft BFF. I like it. There was a lot of yelling. 99% of it coming from me. I have to think he set it up this way out of spite or something, but I walked in on him and his ex on the day I was supposed to move in with him. My car was full of stuff and I was carrying something in and there they were. I mean, okay. Fine, you want to cheat on me and have a miserable relationship with your ex that only lasts 2 months, that's your call. But you could have told me all that before I moved all my shit out of my apartment. God damn it, Jeff. I attempted to beat the shit out of him while he ran downstairs and out my front door. He was able to grab his underwear before he left. My girlfriend was unable to grab anything before I threw her out. She was completely naked, and from what my friends have told me, she was walking hiding for an hour or two before she was able to find a payphone. Back in 2010, so not easy to find. At least where I live. Closest one was about 2-3 miles from my house, and used change she found to call her friend to come get her. Even worse than my girlfriend cheating on me was that the dude was my best friend of 8+ years at the time. My fiancée dragged me to a jewelry store to pick out possible wedding rings. She took off for her place later that night because she had to work brunch the next day. She lived a little over an hour away. I took the next day off of work and decided to surprise my fiancée by showing up at her place at about 8:30 in the morning. I walked in on my fiancée laying naked, spread eagle, on the bed. She was masturbating enthusiastically while a 56-year-old dude was arched over her f-king her face. Evidently she had brought him home from the bar the night before. She was 26 at the time. When I said, "What the FCK's going on here?" Her response was oops. Busted. Long pause. How long have you been standing there? Caught GF making out with another guy at a party. Literally just walked away and we never spoke again. Looking back, I am proud I didn't cause a scene or resort to violence. Warning. All insecure people in safe relationships. Turn back now, lest you start overthinking. I left the room to get a cup of water and walked back in to see my boyfriend kissing my friend. We were a bit drunk, so I can't remember if I flung my water in his face or not. I'd like to think I did. I was helping her with her shirt, was his excuse. Because that's a thing. I was like, I saw you kiss her. I went home and was later grateful that I finally got out of that relationship for good. They both lied to me about it for years afterward. One day, 10 years later, my ex-BF admitted he'd kissed her. I know. I saw you. Crazy how people will lie even when you saw them do the thing they're denying. Caught my girl with some guy in my car. I would let some girl I was dating borrow my new car as I took the bus to work. One day a friend said he saw my car but driven by someone else. I headed over there and caught some guy driving my car with my ex as passenger. They were making out. I knocked on the door, told the guy who I was. Told him about the situation and said you're free to leave or we can handle this. He left. She was going on and on about how he was a friend, blah blah blah. I got in my car, left her there. I didn't go back, but it took me like a year to get to normal. Luckily I didn't get back with her. She would beg me and it took all my pride to say no. Lol, he cheated on me while I was right next to him. Setting up other dates with girls on his phone. I guess he wanted me to break up with him so he could say he'd been dumped by an unreasonable bitch to his new dates. Beats me. Had my puppy dog shitty itself. Couldn't find any towels in the bathroom to clean up the floor. Opened the bedroom door to get my laundry basket and there they were. Couldn't have hurt so badly if it were not a close friend. Ended up keeping the dog and I'm really digging the wagging and tennis balls that come with unconditional love. Once my wife was on Weight Watchers. And she was doing really well. Lost a bunch of weight and was looking fine. I came back from exercising and caught her on the couch. Watching Downton Abbey with a tub of ice cream and a spoon. The look on her face said it all. Busted. That was the night she quit Weight Watchers. I went to surprise my first college BF in his dorm room with a sweet note before he performed that night. Walked in to see him with other girl in his lap. Handed him the note without saying anything. Walked out. Ignored, avoided him. But ended up in line next to each other at the cafeteria the next day. Him. So. I guess that's it. Then. Me. Yeah, think. Not me. But I worked with a woman who walked in on her husband and her brother going to town. A few days after that she came into work and said my husband ran off with my brother. One of the managers was laughing so hard he fell down. My buddy walks into his GF's room to some dude balls deep into her. He doesn't even acknowledge his GF. Tells the dude I want to talk to you outside. Dude comes out in his underpants saying he doesn't want to fight. He could go to jail, BC he's a pro kickboxer. GF is following them out to the front yard crying it's not what it looks like, lol. He was balls deep in. Anyway, my buddy says I don't want to fight. What was she telling you? She told me we were exclusive. What did she tell you? He said she was only dating him, the kickboxer. My buddy tells him, not her. You can have her. And walks out without saying a f-kin word to his ex or even acknowledging her. Not me, but at college one night we had an X-rated hypnotist on campus. He got the participants to do and say stupid shit. One of the games was Jerry Springer and he asked them all what's one thing about their roommate. Gal tells everyone my roommate cheats on her boyfriend constantly. Said BF is a friend of mine. He got up, straight-faced, and quietly left. Poor dude had a ring and everything. I went to get a checkup in this hospital that is right next to a mall. When I left the hospital I entered the mall to buy a couple of things. But I saw her at the distance leaving a restaurant with her best friend. At this point they had some history together, so I followed them for some time. All of which they were kissing each other on the cheeks and hugging constantly. But when they went to his car to leave, he finally made his move and kissed her on the lips. I took a picture and left. Half an hour later she texts me letting me know she had arrived home. I just replied with the picture. Much crying and arguing, but the relationship ended after that. I really loved her. Caught my fiancée cheating on me at a party we both went to. Proceeded to confront her, got ambushed by her friends yelling at me and telling me I shouldn't have been here. She later told me it was my fault for catching her. I gradually became an alcoholic, started smoking more. Slowly recovering, but had my heart torn out. Wasted 5 years of my life. I'm not with her anymore. I walk in on him and my neighbor just as he was about to come. He ended up pulling out of her too fast and shot semen right in her eye. She had pink eye for a week. It was one of the few times I witnessed karma in action. Reddit would be so interesting if prisoners could weigh in. I didn't walk in on him, but I figured it out before he told me. A lot of little things like the passenger visor mirror always being open. Him suddenly hanging out with friends all the time. Looked at the phone bill, saw him texting a number over 800 times. Ask him about it and claims it's a guy friend from work. At first I'm fine, but he leaves to find himself. So I'll look at the phone bill again and realized the number sent a lot of pictures. What guy sent that many pictures? So I broke down and called it and got a voicemail. Confronted my husband of 6 years and he didn't deny it. Worst day of my life. It was the 7th of March. My brother walked in on his ex-wife in bed with another guy. He told the guy, "Put your pants on. I'm not going to beat the FCK out of you while you're naked." So he put his pants on. And my brother beat the FCK out of him. Edit. Yes. The guy knew she was married. This was in college several years ago. I simply walked in her room with another guy. No sex. But clearly making out and getting ready to have sex. The guy left. As he should. I punched a hole through her wall and stayed at school that weekend. We originally planned to visit her family, which we did somewhat often. When she came back that Sunday I ended it. It sounds shitty, but it genuinely wasn't the worst thing. I was graduating and she wasn't in the distance when we weren't at school was incredibly draining. Truthfully, it wasn't a great relationship and it would have ended in the near future even if all of that didn't happen. Because of it there was a great excuse. And I was faultless. I rebounded decently well. Forgave her. And moved on quickly. I worked with an old man that caught his wife cheating back in the 70s. He turned around, went back to his truck, grabbed a pistol and shot her dead. Did 25 years in a South Georgia prison. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. I walked into the living room and saw her cuddling on the couch with my roommate. He was heavily petting her while watching TV and I watched her lick his f-king face. That's when she saw me. She jumped off the couch and ran over to me and kissed my face over and over as I tried to take my shoes off. Then I gave her a cookie and we went to the dog park. Walked in on her f-king my roommate. Very loudly yelled, "How many times do I have to tell you? If you're f-king some random SLT." Put a sock in her mouth so she doesn't wake me up. Then I went back to my room and locked the door. With her clothes still inside. Never brought it up to my roommate again. Not my story. But a friend of mine got walked in on by his live-in girlfriend during the birthday party she was throwing for him. Cut to a decade later and things have gotten outrageously less sloppy for him. But that right there is one of the shittiest things a friend of mine has done that I know about. Bonus. A year or so later his band was playing a show somewhere and during their set his new lady friend was making out with some random bar patron. I am pretty glad those days are mostly over. The destruction of the last shred of trust I had. Also, where's the guy who was woken up by his GF cheating right next to him? He had an old college friend in town. They definitely seemed friendly, and then suddenly they weren't at the bar and his friends were like, they went off to hook up. Do you want to go where they are? Because even his friends thought he was a dick. So we went to this apartment complex. This is Minnesota in the middle of winter, and they showed me the apartment and I commenced banging on the door. The neighbors came out and I told them what was up and they just sat back and watched. Finally the chick opened the door and told me to F off. We push battled in the doorway and then I managed to slam the door on her hand. She went off crying or whatever. I found the pile of their clothes, threw them all out the window, and left. Apparently he got arrested for the disturbance and went to the jailhouse naked. Grabs popcorn. Grabs dick. Things were going along smoothly. Then I noticed that she would have more and more cash on her, which was really weird. When she thought I was going to be away for a while, I walked in the room and saw it. The fight was pretty bad, but we have agreed that she isn't allowed to be the banker when we play Monopoly. Things are okay now, but getting better. My wife walks in on me cheating all the time. I tell her about all the neat ones I find online, and the things they do for me. She loves and supports me. My action replay devices have gotten me through a lot of bad times. Not me, but a buddy of mine came home from the military unable to open the door to his place. Assuming something was wrong with his wife, unconscious, dead, etc. He tore the door down only to find all of his belongings in the living room. He made his way back to the bedroom to find her in bed with another guy she had apparently been seeing while he deployed. Grabbed his stuff and left. Later gets a phone call and is put under arrest. Why? She immediately went to the police with choke marks, very consensual choke marks from the other guy, stating he beat her when he walked through the door and found them. Goes to court. Jury chooses her side. He was dishonorably discharged and is now on probation. We all hate that bitch now. Very consensual choke marks from the other guy. Lol, is it the story he told everyone? I wouldn't buy it either if I was on the jury. He kicks down the door and finds his girl in bed with another man? If I were a betting man, I would bet he wasn't being completely honest. I'm Grady, a 29-year-old construction worker. After coming home from a long day of work, I found my wife in bed with another man. After a brief crisis of conscience, I ended up shooting them both. Had a GF break up with me that I was madly in love with while she was still living with me. I came home after work to find her F-king her new boyfriend on my futon. Instead of going HT and killing them both, I walked out of the apartment, went to the bar, and drank myself into a state of IJAF, and cried. This needs a serious tag. I kinda hate Reddit for that reason though. Oh, you forgot to add a serious tag? FCKU and your legitimate topic. I'm going to show the world how extremely funny I am. 111. Onion. Was this post inspired by Dave and Chuck the Freak segment this morning? Also, I'll add a story. I didn't walk into the act, but walked in the evidence of the act, used condom. I chilled in her house for a bit, grabbed a beer from the fridge, drank it on the patio, fired up Tinder and started swiping, peed on her toothbrush, then left. Tale from the other side. I was having sex with a girl in her student dorm, 6x 12 feet cell. When her drunk BF walked in, I hid under a beanbag while they had sex less than a foot away from me. Such a weird experience. I'm still processing it. I came home from work a little early to try and surprise her with flowers. When I walked in, I heard the bed make some noise from the other room, so I figured, oh, she must be napping or something. I snuck in there and she was taking it doggy from some guy I've never seen. Instead of getting pissed, I was actually a little aroused. I watched for about a minute before I couldn't take it anymore. I took my pants off and slowly snuck up behind the guy and started F-king him in the ass. Yeah, we broke up after that. But that guy was shitting pancakes for a week. I saw her using speed hacks on TF2.